But now we've got ourselves a game. Some real StarCraft to talk about. I can't say the word StarCraft today. It's twice in the last 2 minutes. It's almost like I don't talk about this game at all. Spawning in the lower left-hand corner of Ancient Cistern, we have the red Protoss player. Recently joined the team Twisted Minds. It is Classic. His opponent in the upper right-hand corner, recently looking very strong in the GSL, is our blue Terran player, GuMiho. Gumi. These guys right now on a Ligulac are ranked right next to each other. I think it's like ranked 13 and 14, Classic and then GuMiho. I think GuMiho's ranking is probably about to go way up based on some of his recent results. And I mean, in general, the last few weeks, he's looked so good at Jonkoping and now in GSL. But you can never count Classic out. Classic is such a strong and solid player. Love to see it. The matches between these two is always so entertaining. Does the prize pool get split between players, or does it just go to the winner or winner second place? It gets split between the top 8 players. So a big part of the goal of the KSL is to make sure to help the Korean scene stay alive. We started this tournament, Dave Testa, myself, and a number of other people, some of who are in chat right now. We all worked together to start this tournament. Specifically when the announcement came through that the GSL prize pool was going to be significantly decreased. And I know a lot of Korean players were really worried about their livelihoods. So a big part of the point of it was to help not just the top Korean players, but we spread it among the top 8. And, you know, some weeks the top 8 can involve a lot of players you might not expect to see at the top level. Just depends on who signs up and who has a good week, maybe gets a good couple of victories. But we're trying to spread the love. What is going on here? Okay, this game is already wild. We have a second barracks. Stim is on the way. There's a Marauder coming out for GuMiho. And a very fast engineering bay. This is like super duper fast, right? Am I crazy here? This is going to be 2 racks. Heavy aggression from GuMiho. Is he going to drop a 3rd racks? This is wild. Classic seems to be going Blink Stalkers, and it's pretty quick blink. There's no delay here. We don't have a robo or anything going down, so Classic's gonna have pretty fast blink. He's gonna spot these Marauders, and it's not concussive shell first, so they're not gonna be able to catch those Adepts. But Classic is still caught off guard by the presence of 2 Marauders this fast. Stim is already like 2/3 of the way done. That is actually insane. +1 starts up. We have a missile turret here from GuMiho because, I mean, if you're not building Marines or Widow Mines or Cyclones, you need something in case there's an Oracle. And GuMiho has no idea what the tech is right now. I don't know if the Reaper... Was there a Reaper? I think there was. Yeah, the Reaper died, so... The Robo's going down now. Classic is just about as much in the dark as GuMiho is about what's going on the other side of the map. And yeah, there's the 3rd barracks and the factory going down for GuMiho. So it looks like Stim's going to finish. +1 is on the way. Combat Shield starts up. I think that's about the time GuMiho's going to be hitting. But I don't really know. This feels like a very strange build to me out of GuMiho. Usually if you get Stim that quickly, you want to hit with Stim. But obviously GuMiho delaying a little bit, needs that +1, probably wants that Combat Shields before any aggression happens. Now he's dropping a bunker.
Armed and ready.
That's so strange to me. GuMiho dropping the bunker now without any follow-up scouting on what's going on. But I mean, Classic's got 3-gate blink into a Templar Archives. Now, we did just see Classic go for very fast Storm against Future, and honestly, if Storm is ready and they're a high Templar with Storm by the time GuMiho hits the other side of the map, that would be an incredible defense against this. Because this is going to be pure bio out of GuMiho. There's not going to be like tank support or anything. I'm pretty sure he's just going to go with 2 medevacs. +1, Stim, Combat Shields will be done. Concussive Shells will be done. GuMiho's going to have a very powerful push. This ends up being kind of like a 3 racks, but when you wait for the 2 medevacs for a follow-up push, it's very interesting. I think it's going to be a very strong push from GuMiho. But again, if Storm is done, Classic's going to be looking solid on the defense. And it looks like that is going to be the case. I think GuMiho just saw those High Templar with, I assume that was an SCV that just died there. So I'm very intrigued in how this is going to go. I think Classic's going to have a good hold. Yeah, GuMiho dropping a 3rd behind this. DRG 2-0 to Straya. See, when I saw that, I was like, I think Estrella is going to be favored here, but DRG, man, you can never count him out. GuMiho sniping that Observer. But Storm is ready. We have, I think, 3 High Templar here, 4 High Templar ready with Storm. GuMiho's going to go for a drop in the main. I don't think there's anything here to defend. This drop could definitely get some damage done. Yeah, Classic not really anywhere nearby, and there is a small group of units that could head into the 3rd as well. But GuMiho's going to have to lift up and get out of here. These High Templar only landing 1 Storm. I think Classic maybe a little more focused down here, but the 3rd base getting ravaged by these Marines, stimming in, killing 11 workers. Storm going to land on these Marines as well. They're just going to run away, pick up in the main to get out of there as Classic reinforces this area as well. Overall, I'd say that did pretty well for GuMiho. I mean, the worker count is slightly in the Terran's favor as this 3rd base finishes up. GuMiho's got to be feeling pretty good about that. Getting into a Ghost Academy as well, that's going to be crucial. The big thing here is GuMiho has 1-1, and, I mean, we don't even have a Forge for Classic. So Classic on heavy gateway units, but with no upgrades. Going to be down already 2 full upgrades as GuMiho starts up +2 attack. Doesn't look like there's a second engineering bay, so it's just going to be the 1 at a time upgrade, but GuMiho still taking a huge, huge upgrade lead that is only going to increase over time. Classic doesn't seem to mind too much at the time, though, because he is just running across the map. Of course, literally as I say that, he puts down the Forge, so I guess he does mind a little bit. But he wants to go for a big attack right now. He wants to hit before ghosts come out. There's 2 on the way, but those are the first 2 ghosts. Scan's going to spot that these units are nearby. Saw at least a few of them. GuMiho trying to pre-spread a little bit and avoid some of those storms as they land. Good splits so far. The Widowmine's doing a lot of friendly fire damage there. Not being very nice to the Terran. Oh, and that storm is juicy. The weather is bad over here. Classic diving into the natural. Storms on the backside landing on this army. And as these Archons morph, and the Warp Prism warps in more units, I think Classic's just going to overwhelm in the counterattack. There's some damage going down on the other side of the map, but it's just Widowmines. Widowmines are really nice, but when you don't have an army back at home, you can't hold the push. GG gets called. Classic takes game number 1. GuMiho has been looking so damn good lately, but I feel like Classic kind of has his number too. Something about these 2 up against each other is it's just too good. GG. Hope you guys are doing well out there, enjoying the games. A Twitch viewer, thank you so much for the 11-month resubscription. Truly the number 1 a Twitch viewer. So what's up, cats? Good to see you, bud. Yeah, the filthy storms. I love that Classic is going for fast storm. It's something that Zest used to do a lot. If you guys remember watching those Zest games back just a year or so ago, Zest used to go quick storms all the time. And I loved it so much. It's so strong against those early bio pushes. I mean, we saw exactly how it worked out last game. See if this game has any similarities. Lower left-hand corner of Royal Blood, we have the red Protoss for Twisted Minds. It's Classic. His opponent in the upper right-hand corner, currently teamless. Gonna get this guy on a new team. In the blue, it's GuMiho. It's, you know, it's funny how it works sometimes. Unfortunately, GuMiho and Psystorm parted ways. I think everybody was sad about that. But it's crazy that, like, GuMiho becomes teamless and all of a sudden has some of the best play and the best runs of his career. And I don't know. I feel like maybe sometimes there's some motivation or something that comes from being in a non-ideal situation. We did see Beyond in 2016 making the teamless GSL run and BlizzCon run. But GuMiho's been looking so strong lately. Yeah, how is GuMiho teamless? That is the question. Classic was teamless for a very long time. Since his return from the military, I don't believe he had a team like that whole time. And it's only very recently Twisted Minds is a new team that started up. I think they're specifically picking up players that are going to the Gamers 8 tournament. I believe that was like part of it. I don't know. But they picked up Classic. It is always good to see the players on teams. Teams definitely don't mean the same thing as they kind of used to, especially in Korea. There was always this idea of the teams. You know, they had a team house, they had these practice partners and a practice regimen, and being on a team with somebody was like a special bond with that person that they had. And if they had to play professional matches, it was like big deal, team kills, there were mind games going on. These days, though, I feel like a lot of, if not all, the Korean professional StarCraft players are friends. They practice together. A lot of them hang out together. That bond feels like it's amongst all of the Korean players. And a lot of the non-Korean players that live there. Like Scarlet and Special. I know Estrella and Future are there right now. Neeb is actually studying in Korea at the moment. So I feel like there's a strong bond there between all of them, which is very cool to see. And I think it's actually really improved a lot of the players. Cheeky little Reaper gonna scout the Twilight Council. It's another very quick blink for Classic. See if he goes for that same quick Storm. I think the Storm might have been a reaction to seeing GuMiho go for those early Marauders, and then Classic not being sure what was following it up. This game, it looks like a Widowmine drop out of GuMiho, and then a 2-Rax follow-up. Is this going to be like a 2-1-1, 16 Marine drop with Stim follow-up to the Widowmine drop? I love that GuMiho, even though he's actively participating in GSL right now, is still bringing out what I would call weird builds. It makes me wonder if he's like kind of practicing with these builds, seeing how they work against Classic in a tournament setting, because you can practice against somebody, but I feel like in a tournament setting, Classic might play a little bit differently, a little bit harder than he would in a practice game. I don't know, it's kind of cool to see. Widowmine drop gonna come in now. Classic, gotta pull these probes. Classic. Whoop. Oh man, that was close to getting that one. GuMiho being fancy with the Widowmine micro here. Wants to pick up Blink 7 seconds from being done, but GuMiho gets out of there with a couple of kills. Keeps everything alive. And this is something that is so frustrating to deal with for the Protoss player. These two Widowmines are pretty much guaranteed to come back in like 2 minutes and get some damage done. They could come back in at any point. I think Beyond is like the master of this. And it's such a frustrating thing to deal with unless you open Stargate. GuMiho pushing out now. Stim not quite finished yet, but he's going to go for the Stim now and push these Stalkers away, force the Blink back. Classic obviously has excellent micro, but you can only do so much against the Blink Stalkers. So there is going to be some trading here. Oh, no! Oh! Classic has excellent micro, he says, as Classic misclicks his units and sends them back up the ramp. Little painful there. Good little victory for GuMiho. Gets another stalker. So far, though, nothing too crazy going on. Somehow, that medevac died. The 2 Widow Mines died as well. Looks like they got a couple more probes, though, in the meantime. Templar Archives is on the way now. It's obviously quite a bit later than it was in the last game, Classic. Changing it up a little bit, staying on the Stalkers a little bit longer, putting some pressure on with them now. But he's catching GuMiho out on the map, and Classic might just have to recall. He's going to jump on this tank. I mean, he's going to get a lot of kills here, but there are 2 medevacs full of Marines stimming into his natural right now. There's a siege tank here as well. Yeah, he's got to get back home. Oh, man. And that was 5 Stalkers that recalled. That is not a lot. Immortal is stopped. Charge is stopped. GuMiho's in a fantastic position. He lost some workers back at home and some units, but who cares? Charge has been denied. This gateway is going to go down. This robo is going to go down. And Classic is holding on by the skin of his teeth right now, just trying to warp in some units. Probes hiding in the back so they don't die, but this Nexus, I think, is going to go down. Okay, the Stalkers are going to come out and try to protect it. Blinking on top of the tank, targeting down the medevacs, but these Marines are doing so well against the Stalkers. The probes have to come out to buffer for them, and that will allow Classic to clean these up, but it is still so painful here. A bunch more probes going down. GuMiho takes a commanding worker lead, and a lot of Stalkers died there as well. Yes, GuMiho lost a lot of army, but we see he is still up army supply. He has a 3rd command center, so the 3rd Nexus of Classic, which isn't even done yet, isn't that big of a deal. And GuMiho is going to have a lot of bio out soon. He's going to be able to go for another push. Great snipe on that Observer. These Stalkers are not going to get anything done. The most they can do is zone out here and hope to pick off some Marines when GuMiho moves out again. I love this. GuMiho puts down a turret. This is the I hope he doesn't go for a quick Dark Shrine turret. This is the only thing I'm going to die to right now is DT, so I'm going to put down a turret in front of my natural. Beautiful move from GuMiho. We do see Storm on the way again for Classic. He's hoping that AoE can kind of handle the bio and allow the Stalkers and maybe one day charge lots if Twilight gets rebuilt to get on top of the siege tanks. But the lack of charge here is so painful. These tanks do so well against Blink Stalkers. GuMiho's going to again put that pressure on. Storm is done. There are 4 High Templar here. At least a couple of Storms available right now. Storm, though, does not outrange siege tanks. At least last I checked. So that's going to make it really tough for these High Templar to get that big damage we saw last game. I love that GuMiho changing it up, saying, all right, you like Storm? I'm going to go for the siege tanks. With no charge, those Zealots just die immediately. Some Stalkers on the backside picking off some reinforcing units, but actually they do not win this fight. So they can kill the siege tank, but that is about it. The Storms can zone the bio, but again, the tanks are just going to keep that constant pressure on. And I just don't think there's going to be enough here for Classic. GG, GuMiho ties up the series 1-1. Oh, man. It's too good. It's too good, this series. These guys are just too... They're too sick. I believe the top side of the bracket is a ZVZ between Dark and DRG right now. So if you guys do want to check that out, Steadfast is casting that, as are the Cranky Ducklings and Dave Testa. Lots of options there for coverage. But we're getting into game 3 of Classic versus GuMiho momentarily. I will answer you momentarily, Cats. I have to remember now, actually. I have to remember the answer to your question. All right, but I'm gonna introduce these players real quick first. Spawning in the upper left-hand corner of Gresfan, we have the red Protoss player. Took game 1, but fell in game 2. It is Classic. His opponent in the lower right-hand corner, a fan favorite, the Towel Terran. It's GuMiho. I kind of think both of these guys are fan favorites. So I feel like it's cheating, but it does feel kind of true to me. I like that Classic scouting for the proxy racks here. Keeping an eye out. GuMiho's certainly the kind of player that would go for a proxy rack, too. You know what I haven't seen in a while is like a proxy 111 or, I mean, any sort of like really, really aggressive proxy. Siege tanks, cyclones, stuff like that. We occasionally see proxy racks and occasionally see proxy starports for like a Liberator or a Hellion Drop usually is the game plan there. But the proxy 111, I always love those builds. They came out super seldomly, but I haven't seen one in a long time. I remember Lilikanen used to do those all the time. This is a very long time ago. But I don't know. I love when players would bust those out. TY would occasionally do one. I think TY and Special both had a few proxy 111 builds. Reaper just trying not to die here. Trying to scout. I mean, Classic's got the same exact opening. Again, another Twilight Council opening. It's interesting Classic's not doing any sort of Stargate openers here. Ugh. I love GuMiho just trying to be cheeky with the Reaper, hitting the Adept. Are there many Korean people watching these games? So right now, I don't think we have either Maddox or Into the Inu casting. Both of those guys have cast in Korean in the past, in which case I would say yes. Often they have, you know, pretty sizable audiences watching these games. Right now, I would say it's fairly unlikely, although I think a decent amount of Korean viewers will watch, will at least keep an eye on these channels to watch these games. Like you might watch a game if it's on a non-English channel occasionally. Hellion's trying to sneak in, getting a couple of probe kills. Oof, beautiful block by the Stalker, though. But the two Reapers diving into the main base. GuMiho going heavy, heavy early game here. Just trying to get some harass done and get 6 probes out of it. That was for 1 Reaper and 2 Hellions. So trade-wise, it's technically dead even. I think GuMiho's probably pretty happy with 6 workers. But I don't think he'd be very happy with any less than that. I think 6 is like the bare minimum for what he wants to get done here. Keeping the 2 Reapers alive is pretty nice, too. They can keep an eye on the units moving out, things like that, the unit composition as the game gets longer. But it is Blink, and it looks like it's just a 2-gate Blink into the Robo here for Classic. It's extremely standard. But GuMiho, as most Terrans do, if you open with kind of heavy aggression, harass, stuff like we just saw from GuMiho, usually the follow-up doesn't take long to hit. And Classic gonna want to be ready for this drop that's coming into the main base. The Stalkers, though, are all out front dealing with these Reapers. I think the Reapers want to try to jump up and join up with this. Or if this can get sieged up in the back, the Reapers might dive into the natural where you kind of have free reign on the probes. Well, I love the Stalker warp in here right on top of that siege tank. Gonna target that tank down. Blink is done, so that tank will go down very quickly. Tank getting some good shots off on the probes, but here are those Reapers in the natural targeting down a few probes as well. Getting 3 or 4 more here. and pulling that focus of Classic. He does clean this up, pushes the medevac away, but kills everything else. Did a Reaper get away? No, I think all the Reapers died. 10 probes going down is really nice for GuMiho, who takes a nice worker lead here. And I don't think there's a ton Classic can do about it. I feel like he has to take a third base because he doesn't have a ton of production. But he does have a Robo Bay. A very fast Robo Bay, considering he's still just on 2 bases. And it is fully done. He's got double gas down at the natural. This third is starting to feel very late. But GuMiho doesn't have a third CC in the main base, so I think ends up being fine. The tank doing some friendly fire splash damage on those Marines. It doesn't look like the Stalkers can get too much done here. They try to jump into the main base. I mean, GuMiho is pretty buttoned up, and he's going to drop his third CC just after that third Nexus goes down. So I am really liking this for GuMiho. He maintains a worker lead. Classic's third ends up being quite late. Disruptors are coming out, though. Is this going to be like a disruptor drop? Do we see Classic go for that? Oh, no. Okay, so it's just the one disruptor before the Colossi. What this disruptor is, this is the I'm afraid of you attacking disruptor. This is the if you attack, Colossi take a long time to build, I want to have one disruptor out to zone you back. Or maybe get the big kill. The nice thing about the first disruptor is if the Terran's not paying attention, that disruptor can get a big hit. You're not always expecting the disruptor so quickly. GuMiho going to try to move out here. Some fancy pickup micro that tank. But here it comes. Ooh! Nice spread there. It does get that siege tank. Click the production tab. Gets the siege tank and a few Marines. That medevac diving forward with the low hit point tank in it. The disruptor goes down though, and I don't know if that's really worth it to finish off that one siege tank and get a couple Marines. GuMiho is still going to push across. And now that disruptor isn't available back at home. Nice kills on those Widow Mines. One of these tanks is very low though, and now there's only 2 tanks here. A shutdown on the Colossus immediately. Some beautiful force fields, but is it enough with the super shield battery? It feels like it might be. Ooh, the Colossus pulls back. It stays alive, and now it's going to be able to shoot again. Thermalance isn't quite done yet. Oh, it gets shut down again. This Raven had enough energy for the second shutdown. A second Colossus pops, though, and the probes get pulled. GuMiho's trying to push through. Classic desperately holding on. He kills both of the siege tanks, but loses all of his Stalkers on the backside. But that does pull this bio back and allows Classic to hold on at the front with a few more warp ins. He loses some more probes, and as GuMiho takes his third base, he stays ahead in workers, and he has 20 army supply up now as well. And again, we see Classic just neglecting his upgrades. GuMiho with +1 and +1 armor, halfway done. There's no forge, no nothing for Classic. And now GuMiho is dropping into the main base because, hey, guess what? All of those Stalkers died. There's not really any defense to stop these drops. Stalker's trying to warp in, but it's right in the fire of Marines and Marauders. And a ton more workers going down here. It looks like there's some damage going on down here as well as GuMiho runs into the third base. Classic's going to clean up the third, no problem, but the main is a problem as the Raven comes in. And again, interference matrices on the Colossus. Or is it matrices? Interference matrices the Colossus. There we go. Plurals are complicated. And I think Classic's going to push this away, but he has taken so much damage here. The bio is traded pretty solidly against those Stalkers. Killed so many probes. And there's still more bio coming in, dealing damage, being annoying. And GuMiho's got another push. He is still up 30 supply, 30 army supply, and 30 worker supply. Up nearly 60 supply in total here. Classic under 100 right now. Just trying desperately to deal with all of this. A Widow Mine sneaks in, gets 5 more probe kills. Classic doesn't even have an observer here to clean it up. And now it's spotting the entire army. Classic knows exactly where that army is. He's going to try to take advantage of it coming back up the ramp. That's a pretty sizable army from Classic here, though. GuMiho has an even bigger army back at home than what he has out on the map. Surprised he's not pulling it across right now, because I think he could just straight up win. He's up 2 full upgrades. He's up 15 workers. 35 army supply. Oh, yeah. Classic's just going to walk right into the Lion's Den here as GuMiho hits from both sides, shutting down the Warp Prism this time. And that is going to be that. GG gets called as GuMiho cleans up Classic's army. Takes the 2-1 to go to the Grand Finals. Hot damn, GuMiho. Classic looking super strong in game 1. But I think that ended up being a really nice build order victory for him. It was a purposeful build order victory. Really good call from Classic. And GuMiho says, well, if you don't have the hard counter to me in that storm, I can take these games. GuMiho looking as strong as we expect him to.